Welcome back, guys. Look how clean it is. I just made it clean. We're gonna talk about zeros of a function. Zeros of a function f of x is when what values of x so that f of x equals 0. Okay, so what x values, okay? What does x equal? Okay, so let's look at some of these functions. We'll start with this one. 3x squared plus x minus 10, equals 0. Okay, when I solve this 3 times negative 10, negative 30, what would go into here? 6 and 5. So I get 3x minus 5 and x plus 2. So I get x equals 5 over 3 and negative 2. Okay, so that would be our zeros right there. Okay, and then if we have our square root, the function still works. It's just you have to understand. So we get 0 equals the square root of 10 minus x squared. We square both sides, so we get 0 equals 10 minus x squared, or x squared equals 10. X equals plus or minus the square root of 10. Okay, so that's our two zeros right there. If you plug them back in, that works. Square root of 10 squared is 10. 10 minus 10, 0. Okay, last one is a rational function. So again, we look at 2t minus 3 over t plus 5 equals 0. Now notice, these two are different, right? The bottom and top. So we can actually ignore the bottom because it doesn't affect the top. So 2t minus 3 equals 0. T equals 3 over 2. Now remember, this is algebra. You're moving stuff over, okay? So my expectation is you'll be able to do that math, okay? Okay. The book does show it, so I'll show it. So it's 2t equals 3, and then they divide both sides by 2. Okay. Okay, let's move on. So that's zeros. Let's talk about increasing and decreasing. So increasing means as our x increases, so if we have two x's, x1 is less than x2, then our function at that point is less than our function at the second point, okay? So this would be increasing. So decreasing would be as x1 is less than x2, then our function at x1 will be greater than our function at x2, okay? Okay, so increasing means as they go bigger on x, they go bigger on y, and decreasing means as they go bigger on x, they go smaller on y. Think of this as decreasing and increasing, okay? So as x improves, y improves, but this is as x goes right, y goes down, okay? It's kind of this idea of slope, okay? Okay? So, and then constant, that's the third term. Constant means as x1 is less than x2, our f of x1 is going to be equal to our f at x2. Okay, so this is constant. Okay. The idea is it doesn't change no matter what the situation is, okay? There's analogies you could draw, but we'll keep moving. Okay, relative maximum. Relative maximum means based on the numbers around it, x1, our x, and x2. So based on the numbers around it, this number right here, this a, right there, is going to be f of a is going to be greater than or equal to the f of x around it, okay? So it's going to be greater than or equal to. So this is maximum. And then min is based on the numbers around it. This f of a is going to be less than or equal to the numbers around it, okay? So that's relative maximum. And this is relative maximum where it's greater than, and this is relative minimum when it's less than. Okay, now it only relates to those two numbers around it. So if you think maximum, think it looks something like this, and think minimum, it looks something like this. Okay, so this point right here, and this point right there. Okay, maximum will be on top, minimum on bottom. Okay, let's continue to move forward. Even and odd functions. So even and odd functions are crucial. Even functions, okay? If you plug in a negative for the x, it's going to equal if you plugged in a positive for the x, okay? Especially if x is in the domain. This is the rule, okay? If x is in the domain, if you plug in a negative, you'll get the same as a positive. Whereas, so this is even. Think of even as it's always going to be a multiple of 2, so that's it's pair, okay? They're a pair of answers. Okay, odd means that there's not a pair. So if you plug in the negative for x, odd means you get the negative for y. So this means that the negative on the inside applies actually to the outside. So example of this is odd would be something where f of x, I don't know if that's still in, sorry. Let's write this over here. So an example is f of x equals x cubed. Example for even, e dot g is f of x equals x squared. Now note, okay, I want you to note something. Note that cosine of x is even and sine of x is odd. Okay? Sine of x is odd, cosine of x is even. Okay? Okay, that is going to be all we are going to cover right now. So, we'll talk about this in class today. Thank you so much for joining. I hope you guys are ready, and if you have any questions, feel free to ask them. Thank you. Bye.